First day was in May.
Mm-hmm.
And that was actually when we both told each other we wanted to adopt. She said it, and then I said, yeah, I would love to adopt as well.
On our first date.
Yeah, and we started talking about kids and how many kids we wanted to have. And she, of course, wanted to have like 8. And I didn't want to have that many, but we said, well, because we both want to adopt, maybe we can have 2 kids of our own and then adopt after that. And that did happen. Unfortunately, not the way that we wanted.
Yeah. There was a diagnosis of gastroschisis, meaning that the intestines were growing on the outside of the body, and it was a pretty severe case. But that kiddos that are born with gastroschisis, they have surgery right after birth, but lead a normal life after that. And there was no reason for us to think that anything different would happen. Our kiddo would just have a different start than everyone else. At this point, we didn't know gender of the baby. We wanted to be surprised, so we came up with a nickname. I had the app on my phone that told you how big the baby was that week, and the week that we heard heartbeat was 12 weeks and the size of a plum, so we just called baby Plum. They said, okay, start planning your delivery now because baby may have to be born a little earlier than typical. So we were scheduled to have our ultrasound, and then after that ultrasound, we were going to go meet with the surgeon that would be actually doing the surgery. And when we got to the ultrasound, the technician looked for a couple minutes, not even a couple minutes, I think 30 seconds, and then just left the room. And I don't know how long she was gone, but it felt like half an hour. It felt like so long. And I started, of course, getting pretty upset. We both were pretty upset. And the doctor eventually came back in, and he looked for just a few quick seconds and said, "There's no heartbeat, I'm sorry."
We were just in shock and kind of numb and didn't know what to say or do or how to react or how long to hold them or should we take pictures or
we didn't know.
What do we do?
Yeah, and we didn't really know of anybody that had gone through this before, so we felt very alone. All we could think about was, how are we supposed to face tomorrow? Tomorrow doesn't look like it's supposed to.
At the time, we didn't know Jamie and Andy. We didn't know Kelly. We didn't know this community Walk With Me. We didn't know that this was even possible, that we could lose our baby, and that there was this whole other world that we hadn't been exposed to, and the tragedy that other families had gone through that would walk with you through it.
It was so nice to see a room full of people that fully got it, and they were just as raw as we are, and still were wounded from their experience. And not that you want other people to hurt, but sometimes it's nice to know that you're not alone. Through the group, we were meeting individuals and couples that had lost kiddos before we lost Plum. They were healing, they were going to counseling, and they were working through the pain that they were in, but were also going to take steps to be parents again. And we decided that was something that we wanted to do. And we eventually became pregnant again, and we made it past the 12-week mark, flying colors. We made it past the 16-week mark, which was a really anxious time because that's when Plum passed away. And
it was our redemptive story. That's what we kept saying, was that God said this one's going to work out. It's going to be okay. We're going to get through this. It's going to be okay. And we got to the 20-week appointment, and baby was moving around so much they couldn't get the pictures that they wanted, and so they said, well, normally we would just tell you to come back in 8 weeks, but because we aren't getting the pictures, let's have you come back at 24 weeks. And so we came back to the doctor, and we walked into that appointment praying and not shaking, but feeling pretty incredible. Like, this is our overcoming story. This is how this is meant to be. All of this is coming together. And they called us back into the technician's room, and the sweet tech that we saw every time was so happy for us because she'd known our story from before. And when Cile got ready on the table and she started doing her thing, Cile and I were looking at each other, just holding each other's hands, smiling. And then we started to realize the tech got closer and closer to the screen and was kind of had a look on her face and was silent for about 2 minutes, but we could see the baby moving, we could hear the heartbeat. And so we're thinking, what's going on? And so I finally broke the silence and said, is everything okay? What do you mean this is happening again? There's a redemptive story here. There's an overcoming story. Why are you saying that? We found out later your baby has cardiomyopathy. It's pretty rare and almost always fatal. And that following Monday, we were in the doctor's office, and they did an ultrasound, and Boone went to be with his brother. This time it was not as quick as the first time, and I wish that was going to be the hardest part of the story. But 2 days later, Cile went into labor, and as Boone was delivered, I looked at her, and her whole body was gray, her face was gray, her hands were gray and swollen, and I was really confused because I'm holding my son, and I don't get to play catch. I don't get to give him advice when he isn't going to listen. And I'm just thinking about all the things that we don't get to do with him. And then I look up, and there's about 10 or 12 doctors in the room and nurses, and it's a scramble. Cile she was almost not going to make it. She shouldn't have made it. If we weren't at that hospital, she wouldn't be here today. And I was frozen. So much was happening. Doctors are moving quick and yelling across the room and yelling down the hall, ordering blood and having it delivered. And I can remember holding him and looking at her and just feeling such heartache. And knowing that I'm going to have to tell her this story, and that I couldn't lose her and him. I needed her to be with me.
While the molds and the footprints are not him, they're pretty close. And it's just so nice to have that reminder, and we're just very lucky that the Walk With Me group came and did that for us.
Instead of us going to a headstone,
They came to us and asked if we'd want to plant a tree. So we found a really great park that is a happy place and has activity going on, but it also has a side of it that's really calm and peaceful. So we planted a plum tree.
it was kind of symbolic that this is the end of something but the beginning of something else. But we also could feel them. You can feel their presence when you're around them, that they're watching, they're looking out for us. It was a step in the right direction. It was a step forward, knowing that this isn't the end of our lives. We're still here. But we also need to live to honor them, and we can do that by planting this tree.
Yeah. And let them know that we miss them a lot.